Hi everyone, and welcome to the Women in Control live virtual panel. My name is Nadia and I'm the founder of Women in Control. Women in Control is a platform that I started around 2 years ago now, and I started it to empower myself and other women that work in the industry that don't necessarily get a chance to shine. A safe platform for us to kind of share experiences so that we can share our stories and create some awareness on any issues that we may have. Today's panel is about promotions team and how to build your promo team. I myself am a manager, and as a manager, when you're building any artist projects or campaigns, you're going to look to build your promo team. Or even if you're like a self-releasing DIY artist, you might want to get a couple of people on board in your team. Or even if you sign to a record label, you're going to be building a team around you. So it's really important to kind of understand like the different team members that you're going to have. Your core team are going to be your promotions team, and they're going to be the ones that are pitching your music to radio, TV, press, etc. So on the panel today, we have top executives from the music industry in the world of radio promotions, TV promotions, and online PR and press as well. My first panelist is Cherie Fenner, who is a music publicist, and she has been working in the industry for over 8 years as a music publicist. She started out at 10 Letter PR and has worked on campaigns for the likes of Lord of the Mics, Janae Aiko, Mist, Krept Konan. And then she went on to head up the urban department at Outside Organisation, looking after projects for the likes of Trapstar and Slick Rick, and has recently gone freelance, working for Sneakbo, JK, Ambush. So really excited to get stuck in with her. And my second panelist is Helen from Cherie PR. And Cherie PR is a TV promotions company. And I believe Helen started it in 2004. So that's similar to around the time that I got into management. So it's been doing it for around 16 years. And over the years, she's worked on projects for my artists, Lethal Bizzle, Skepta, Chip, So Solid, Artful Dodger, Mr. Eazi, Sigma. Like, she's just so many people. And my final guest panelist is Becky McCall, who is head of national radio at Listen Up, and Listen Up is one of the biggest music plugin companies in the industry. And Becky started in the industry, actually started at Listen Up, I believe 4 years ago, starting there as an intern, and in 4 years has worked her way up to now become head of national radio as a radio plugger. So can't wait to get into all of you guys' stories. So yeah, I'd love to hand over to you all now. If you could just introduce yourselves so everybody can put the name to the face and let us know who you are. So Shireen, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Cherie. So yeah, as Nadia explained, I've been working in PR for just over 8 years in a couple of different companies. So now, yeah, I'm freelancing and working with labels and independent artists as well. But I've been in the music industry for probably about 10 years as a music journalist previously as well. So quite a long time.
I'm Helen. As Nadia said, my company is Cherie PR, which I set up with a friend and colleague in 2004. I was plugging before that for a record label, another independent promotions company, and I've done a couple of stints in TV, so I've seen the other side of it as well. Now I work on my own, and I've got a really varied roster, lots of dance music, lots of urban acts, and some pop stuff as well, just so that I get to speak to everyone.
Yeah, so my name is Becky and I work at Listen Up, and we're kind of the same as Helen in the sense of we work with a lot of different genres of music and different acts. Yeah, I started at Listen Up. I did a few different like radio bits, and you know, interned at like Mixmag and a few bits, but my core kind of getting into promotion was through Listen Up as an intern, and then yeah, I've like made my way up. So we're an independent, so we work with a lot of different people, so independents, you know, music labels. We work with people that haven't ever been signed yet. They might just have a manager. So we kind of see all sides to it at Listen Up. So we work with quite a few different people like Doja Cat, Becky Hill, a guy called Jelani Blackman. So we kind of try to do a bit of everything, which kind of keeps it exciting.
Amazing. So before we kind of get started into the main part of the panel, obviously about how to build your promo team, I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about the current situation and how that's affecting everybody with the coronavirus and the quarantine. Like, how is it affecting your campaigns? Are you more busier than usual or less busier? And if I'm assuming everybody's now working from home, and how are you finding self-isolation? I know, Helen, for example, you're a mum, so have you got like this homeschooling to do on top of that? So yeah, I'd love to kind of get a bit more insight from each of you and how it's affected you all. So Helen, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, work-wise, I'm still as busy as ever, which is great. Obviously, a lot of people aren't busy, including my other half, and I know that's financially difficult. So it's brilliant that I've still got loads and loads of work. Navigating all the changes at TV, because TV can't operate in the same way it did. So that's another challenge. That's a lot of things you've got to get your head around. I'm currently just organising my first music performance online, so which is fun, and I can't wait to see that happen. So that's obviously created new challenges. Then I think the biggest challenge is having children at home, and homeschooling is a whole other world. It's not so bad, like we're just in the Easter holidays at the moment, so I'm a bit more lax and kind of let them get on while I work. But when it's term time, and we've done 2 weeks of it so far, where we have to actually participate and school the children as well, it's really tough, and that is a massive juggle. And I just find I'm just exhausted by the end of the day because I'm doing work. I've got to try to get my head in several different places. So yeah, it's difficult.
No, I can see I've got like a few friends in the industry who are mums, and when I've been speaking to them as well, they're just like, yeah, finding the homeschooling aspect and having your kids there constantly. It's just like having to juggle and keep on top of work. But I've also found the more people that I've spoke to, like we're definitely all being creative and trying to find different ways that we can still do our campaigns. Like you said, moving a lot to virtual, like even this panel, like I would never have done it virtually before this situation, but I'm actually enjoying, the experience of like trying something new and being a bit more creative. So yeah. Cherie, what about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think it's affected the client base. Obviously, a lot of artists are still releasing music and they've had their release dates in place from beforehand. So it's kind of, yeah, being busy as ever. Obviously, where I work for myself as well, it's, I know a lot of people from my old company have been furloughed or whatever, but yeah, they're still running campaigns. But yeah, in terms of, like you said, I think you have to be a lot more creative, whereas a lot of print publications have shut down. But yeah, it's just looking at more social media stuff, like a lot of the publications are now running Instagram lives and just looking at different ways to do stuff. But yeah, it's kind of exciting as well in a way, because you do have to use your mind a bit more and look at other avenues. A lot of publications aren't obviously doing shoots as well anymore. So with some of my artists, we're taking like photos from unreleased video shoots and stuff like that and giving that to them. So yeah, it's just looking at different routes now to go down, I suppose. And
yeah, 100%, definitely being more creative and like thinking outside the box. And Becky, what about yourself?
I mean, radio's just as big as ever. I think it's probably got even bigger just in this current climate. I think it's just because for some people who are living at home by themselves, it's their only company. And, weirdly, I would have thought like streaming would have kind of seen an increase, but actually it's, it kind of took a bit of a dip, which it's, leveling out now. But it was actually radio that took a surge of listeners because people want company and they want to, and that's kind of the only thing that some people might have. So I'm finding, we're just as busy as ever, if not busier. I think it is the creative side of things. So there would have been like promo bits that we would have took people into different stations, but it's, doing it through Zoom and doing it, on FaceTime. And I think it's been good. I think at the start, it was kind of, everyone was trying to get into the flow of things. A lot of radio stations, changed their schedules so that, they were looking after the presenters coming in. So that was kind of, we had to be on top of that, as well as, knowing what the changes were. Thankfully, we have like good relationships with radio, so they were constantly letting us know, some of the shows potentially might have run pre-record instead of live. So we just had to be on top of knowing what was happening with what. But I think now it's like leveled out, and people are getting into the way of things. There's a few less shows and different stations. At One Extra, DJ Target used to have a show from Monday to Thursday, he only does Monday, and there's other people in the different slots. So it's just being able to like kind of maneuver with the changes that are happening. But I think when we come out of this, we're going to be way more creative with you know, if stations are going to be open with doing online things, you know, virtual things, you know, so it might help us in the long run. I think we have to look at it in a positive light, don't we? Because we'd get a bit down otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that, because I feel like we are all like looking at technology that was always there available to us, but we weren't really using it as much, and like we can be more efficient with our time and like be more creative. And it is really interesting for all of you three, obviously working in the promotions world, to understand that it's kind of busier than ever, or things are still going on, because obviously artists are still releasing music. They're not going to stop completely. But myself as a manager, like I've been extremely affected with what's been going on with the lockdown. Obviously all of our live shows have been cancelled, so I would have mapped out my whole year when we were touring, like summer shows, everything, like everything we had was completely cancelled, like branding deals, even sync deals that you wouldn't, you know, think that would be affected. So it affected a lot of things. So I was unsure in the first few weeks of like how it was going to pan out, but I was kind of trying to enjoy the time and use it effectively and be creative and keep positive and try different things. But I'm finding now that people are coming back to me as they're adapting. I think companies are getting used to it, and I'm talking to brands again about doing things in a different way and shooting campaigns, or maybe we're going to be self-shooting the projects, and that we're able to still kind of implement the activities that we wanted to do, or like adapt them to like the times and make it more relevant to like the audience now. So it is really interesting. And like you said, Becky, I do think it will help us to like think about different ways, because I feel like for years when you've been doing campaigns, you tend to just stick to the mold and just like run the same campaign. So it is forcing you to think outside the box. I also wanted to find out, because I love this part of like the panel, and when I'm speaking to different women in the industry, is like understanding like how you got into the industry. Obviously I speak to a lot of people that are maybe artists, or people that want to be upcoming managers, and they want to understand like how can they get their break into the industry. And one thing I love about the panels and getting such a wide mix of like different job roles is like understanding all the different creative roles that you can do. Like, you know, there's a radio promotions, like TV promotions, like working in a studio, being a producer, radio producer. There's so many different ways that you can get involved. And I always say, like, even if you want to get to another career point later on, it's always good to start in those, to start networking and building your connections and getting up. Like I'm a manager now, and I always wanted to be a manager, but I actually started out doing PR because I thought that that would be the best way for me to meet people and get into the industry. So I think that's like a good avenue to kind of get yourself out there and build your connections up. So yeah, I'd love to find out from each of you like how you actually got into your respective job roles. And yeah, Cherie, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, sure. So I started out as a music journalist with SBTV Flavour, and then moved on to MTV Wrap Up. So I was kind of blogging for SBTV first, then I moved to Flavour, where I actually started interviewing artists, quite big ones from like J. Cole, Emily Sandé. And then I started up as a UK rap columnist for MTV, also interviewing artists there too. I worked for free for all of them. So, but I was doing it because I had like a massive passion for it, and I did what I loved. And then I kind of, I started doing presenting for Channel AKA just a few times, but I wasn't very good on camera. I'm a writer, so I didn't really enjoy it too much. But yeah, there I sort of met Kat Park, who was the ex-station manager of AKA. And I was talking to her on the phone one day, and she was like, yeah, I'm starting on my own PR company. I was like, oh, I think I'll be good as a publicist. Obviously, as a music journalist, you kind of see the flip side to it, and you're building contacts. So yeah, and then all of a sudden I was a music PR. And then, yeah, I was there at the company for just over 7 years. But obviously I had some understanding of what it took to be a music PR, where I was a journalist before. But, you know, we built up the company basically from the ground upwards. We built all of our contacts as we were going along from scratch. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of hustle as well. So we just worked our asses off basically. And yeah, built it up 7 years, and they're still going strong. We just learned as we were going along. Didn't really have that much of a clue what I was doing too much, but yeah, we learned and we did well. So yeah, our first clients were sort of people like Lethal Bizzle. I think we worked with Nadia on that as well. And we had clients like Shiesty, and a lot of up and coming talent came to us. Obviously they wanted to get to the next level and gain recognition. So yeah, and then as we went along, we worked with established artists and with labels as well. And it was just about getting our names out there and telling people what we were doing. And so yeah, that's kind of my background into music PR. And then I went on to head up the urban division at the Outside organisation as well. So it's a lot of label meetings with artists and managers and marketing managers at labels. So yeah, I've got a lot of clients through them as well. And yeah, and here I am today.
Helen, I'd love to know, your story. Like, how did you actually get into it?
Well, obviously, I didn't know what a TV plugger was when I first started out, and I always had this desire to work in television. That was what I wanted to do. But I've got very much a music background. I studied music. I played music. So I managed to, through somebody I knew who worked there, I managed to get myself a job, again, for free, just helping out at the BBC in Birmingham. There was this live daily show and they had a resident band. And so I volunteered my services to help, and I was transposing music for walk-on music and did that for a little while for nothing. And then they decided to take me on as a music researcher. So it was through being a music researcher, when you're working on the other side of it, that you meet the pluggers who are then plugging to you. And I thought their job looked brilliant. I just thought, that looks like what I really want to do. And luckily a job came up in London just as a label assistant down at PWL, which was Pete Waterman's. It was originally his company, and then there was this offshoot that was taken over by Warner's. And I went to work there as a label assistant, and then worked up and became the main plugger, the main TV plugger, once it was taken over fully and became Coalition Records. And musically, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then I saw a job came up at a music promotions company called Size 9, which was independent and did a lot of dance music. They were doing Run DMC at the time. It was really cool. And I got a job there, and I set up, they didn't have a TV department at the time. So I went there, set up their TV department, and worked there for about 6 years, I think. And that's where I got a lot of the contacts that I still have today, working with Ministry of Sound, with a lot of people in the dance world, and Relentless Records, which then went on to when the grime scene exploded, which was right at the end of my time there. I went off to work at MTV for a couple of years to kind of get out my contract, and just because I was offered a job. And so went over to MTV, and again, I think it's quite useful to see the other side of it, to see what you just get to know what's useful to know from the pluggers. So it's a good training, for purposes of training. I think it's a good idea. And then I contacted my old colleague Jenny after a couple of years, and we said, look, should we do this? We talked about it, and we set up Cherie. And we managed to keep all our clients pretty much from Size 9, because they didn't really continue TV after that. So everyone stayed with us, and we worked. It was about 2004 when grime was really going into the mainstream, and it was possibly one of the most exciting times I've ever worked through. And we were doing the first singles from Artful Dodger, from Daniel Bedingfield, from So Solid, from Lethal Bizzle. We did Pow. Yeah, it was really exciting. And then, yeah, it's just carried on. It's 16 years later.
That's incredible, because that's around the same time that I started, was around 2004 when Pow came out. And like I said, I was doing PR before that, and I remember going to quite a lot of label meetings, because I used to do like Ministry of Sound, like a lot of dance projects, PR, and Size 9 were in the meetings a lot, and that's how I kind of got connected with you guys. And then as soon as we started releasing our records independently and also through record labels, we've just consistently worked with Cherie PR over the years. Sometimes when you get signed to a label, labels might have in-house teams, so they might have, well, most of them have a digital team, they'll have in-house radio pluggers, in-house TV team, in-house press team. A lot of them do like have contracts and like outsource projects. So like you said, Helen mentioned that she'll have projects projects and like campaigns that she'll work on with labels as she's built relationships up over the years. So yeah, it's even if you're assigned to a label, you may still find that your teams might be outsourced, or as I've found, when my artists have been signed to record labels, we've actually been able to request that we work and to continue to work with certain teams. So sometimes they allow that, and sometimes they don't. I think it's all budget dependent in terms of like what budgets they can allocate, I guess how busy their in-house teams are, but it's definitely something to keep in mind that I would recommend definitely building your promo team up and working with people that you know, and trying to keep them on board. Like I said, I've always gone back to Helen. Like if I've got a TV project, I'm going to call Helen straight away. Like I don't think there's not been a release that you've worked, unless there's situations where the label come on board and they're like, we're dealing with it in-house. That's the only time that we've not been able to work on projects, but otherwise you've been on every single release. So and yeah, Vicky, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I suppose I went to uni in Cardiff. I'm from Northern Ireland, so I was at home and went to uni in Cardiff and kind of did a degree that was like performance and media. One of the modules was radio, and that's kind of where like I fell into my love for radio. You know, a big lover of music. And so kind of did that at uni, majored in radio. It's quite random actually, because even my whole time doing radio, no one ever told me what a radio plugger was. So, you know, I didn't have a clue what it was. And I kind of realized when I graduated that I knew I wanted to like move to London, get into radio, but I went away traveling for a few years because I kind of wanted to do it and kind of get it out, not out of my system, but I knew that if I'd moved to London and you get these relationships with people, it would be a lot harder to leave and kind of do that again. So yeah, I kind of did that, then came back, and you know, it's harder when you're from a small town, you know, in Northern Ireland. I kind of did what I could there. So I worked at the local radio station, you know, and I was kind of constantly trying to get, you know, work experience in London. I ended up getting a mix mag, so I did a couple of weeks at mix mag, but that was me flying over, staying with friends, doing it, and then flying back to Northern Ireland, because I couldn't afford at the time really to kind of move over with nothing. So I kind of worked in a call center job, did radio at the side, and then yeah, my housemate now actually was going to India and just said, do you want my room for a few months? And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to move to London. I don't have anything. I'm just going to move and it'll work itself out. And within like 2 weeks, I got Listen Up, and yeah, I've started there as an intern. And then over the years, yeah, they've just trained me up, and I've kind of went through the ranks, and now we're running the department there. But yeah, I've been very lucky because Listen Up, you know, have kind of trained me up, and I've never wanted. I love the company. I love the artists we work with, and you know, it's quite interesting because we're an independent. We get to choose what artists really we work with, as opposed to, you know, maybe an in-house plugger will have to do what that label is doing. So I think what's exciting for me and you know, maybe Helen and the others are the same, it's you get to choose what you do, it's you've a passion for it, and that always comes through whenever you're in meetings with people. They know that you're really into a project, and I have to say, like, everything that we do, we see being kind of big, and yeah, it's fun.
No, yeah. I think that's so super inspiring to your story, because especially coming from a small town in Northern Ireland, and a lot of people won't know this, but actually I connected with Vicky like at the start of this year, because Vicky reached out to me because her parents are like best friends with my uncle and aunt from Northern Ireland, because I used to live in the same small town in Northern Ireland as Vicky. So we're actually from the same small town, and like where we're from, it's completely unheard of to get into the industry. There's nothing there. There's not really any media, like big outlets that you could go to. And similarly, like yourself, I actually had a book from my media studies teacher, and through that it broke down all the different roles that you can have in the music industry, and that's the first time I understood what different job roles that you could do. So I read the job of public relations PR, and I was like, oh, I love that, I think I could do that. And I read the role of manager, and I was like, right, those two, I'm going to make a plan, I'm going to come to London and I'm going to apply. And I applied for so many jobs initially, thinking that I was going to walk into a paid job, and then like got the realization, yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to do a lot of work for free. So I ended up applying for like a 2-week work experience placement at this boutique music PR company. Got taken on by them, but in that 2 weeks, I literally was like, then they're going to keep me after 2 weeks. Like, I'm not leaving. Like, had been looking for like 3 months, 4 months. Like, I was like, I'm not going. Like, they're just gonna have to tell me to leave. So like after 2 weeks passed, 3 months passed, I was still there and I was still doing it for free. And then I eventually got the courage to like speak to the boss and was like, you know, I kind of made myself indispensable there. I kind of, you know, sneakily just offered to do everything. So I was kind of so entwined in their projects that he kind of had to give me a job. And like I said, that's how I met Bizzle, because I saw his video on Channel U, and I wanted to reach out to him, and met him doing his PR initially. And I had a plan that I wanted to do PR for a few years and then move into management. But I just feel like with management, when you've got a good relationship with somebody and you kind of feel that it's going to work and you believe in their career. And like you said, Helen, it was such an exciting time when grime was kind of starting out. I just started bugging him straight away and was like, I want to be your manager. And I kind of, so I took him on as like my first client ever. So yeah, I'd love to get into like the main part of it now, just to kind of understand like what is your actual job role. So if an artist or a label comes to you with a single or an album project, what is it that you actually do for them? So Cherie, do you want to take us through that process for you as like a music publicist for press?
Yeah, sure. So I guess like my main role really is to help tell the artist stories through different mediums, so online and print press, and create like a strategical way of doing it as well. So not just pitching the same ideas, you have to be very creative. So think this publication will want this angle, and also look at the artist's interests as well. Are they interested in football? Are they interested in cooking? And there's different online platforms that cater to these things as well. So not just, sometimes artists can get a bit bored, like, oh, this person's just going to ask me the same questions if it's like an album campaign, or, you know, so giving them as well something interactive and like exploring their mind as well, so it doesn't become very monotonous, I guess, for them. And also it's about the messaging for PRs as well. So when I get a campaign through, I think, what messaging do I want in the long term to come out in the media as well? So building that up, and yeah, I guess just doing plans for artists. So when I first get a campaign, I'll do a long-term plan with targets as well, and send that to management and the label. They'll look through it and go, yeah, that's great. But obviously letting them understand that we're not going to be able to get all these targets, but this is what we're going for. I think they have to understand that as well. So I think that's like the main part to PR. And yeah, I think online and press brings a different dimension as well to the team. You've got to make sure that artists are being represented in the right way, online and in print. And also you kind of know what titles to go to, when you're pitching. So you kind of know, like, journalists as well, like this person they understand the UK rap scene very well for a UK rapper, or they're really good grime journalists. So you know as a PR what kind of people to go to for each campaign. But then obviously there's mainstream publications that people will want any artist for as well. So it's kind of like knowing in your head what ones to go to.
So an artist will come to you, they've got like a single or an album project, and then you'll formulate a plan of which targets you want to get. And I guess if you're still hitting press targets, you're going to have to look at different kind of lead times to online journalists that you can kind of obviously hit up, and they're able to put things up like the same day. And then what you're going to go about, like, would you write the press release as well and then go about pitching that to all the journalists?
Yeah, so sometimes we have to write the biogs as well, press releases for artists as well in their campaigns. It depends, like if it's an album campaign as well, you'll have like a longer lead time generally, and a mixtape campaign. If it's a single campaign, you can start it, I guess, like the week of the campaign as well. So it's all dependent on sort of what you're doing as well.
And do you find with like albums, do you do them more as like an upfront thing, and then singles like as soon as they drop, like from the release date onwards?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so yeah, albums I try to take on 2 months really before, and really sort of plan them. So yeah, this and have articles ready to drop for like leading up to it as well. And then obviously with print, you've got to have like 2 to 3 months lead time, because that's when the summer publications coming out, that's autumn winter publications coming out. So yeah, you need a longer lead time for that. But obviously online's different, it can go out the next day, the next week. So yeah, it's all dependent on, yeah, so you do need a longer lead time for albums and mixtapes.
Yeah, I think that's worth keeping in mind if you've got an album or a big project release, to have those lead times in mind, so that you're thinking to get your press person on, and they might probably be like the first team member that you might want to get on, because they've got those longer lead times that they need to be pitching ahead to a magazine to get a review or an interview in there, depending on what stage of your career you're at. So that's like really important to like keep in mind for your press team. And Helen, what's the process to bring you on board as well?
Well, I guess there's 3 parts of TV promotion, put it simply. The planning stage, where you plan your strategy, and that, I suppose, is where it will depend on the project in question. I mean, I take every project and make a plan individually, depending on the artist, on what's happening elsewhere. TV isn't necessarily always the first people on board, and if I'm doing, say, a dance record, it may be that we'll wait until it's got a radio playlist before people even decide they want to make a video. But quite often with an artist campaign, I will start right at the beginning, make a strategy based on what I know and what everyone else in the team is doing as well. It all depends on, it all fits together, and if you don't have that, sometimes if things don't happen at the right times, you can almost lose the impact of everything that you do. So it is really important to look at those timings. Once you've planned, then it's making everyone aware. It's liaising with the TV people, it's finding fans, it's finding areas where your artist might work, or what interesting reasons why they might be able to book that artist, why they should. And just creating general awareness. And again, this can happen right at the beginning of a campaign, even way before anyone might do anything with that artist. But just to start the process, start people getting into the idea of it, and following the project as it moves along. And then obviously finally is the delivery, when you actually book something and you put it together, whether it be an interview and sorting out all the schedules and bookings and makeup, or performances where you get involved in hiring equipment, putting together stage plans, sometimes hiring choirs, whatever's needed. And then you go along and cover all the TV, and then you see what you've done, which is great.
That's really cool. And then I feel like whenever, we come to you, Helen, or Cherie PR for like a campaign, like you said, you'll do a plan up, and the first point of call, if there is a music video, would be submitting that music video to all the different TV networks, so the MTV, the Box, Kiss, I guess depending on what kind of genre of music you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I submit, again, timing of a video is important, and if you're going into some of the specialist genre channels like the urban ones or the dance ones, you can go quite early, because some of those will play unknown artists. Whereas if you have something that's more poppy, then you almost need, they're mostly hits channels. It didn't used to be the case, things have kind of morphed into that way. So if you wanted, say, MTV in particular, they've got MTV Base and Club MTV, and then there's MTV Hits, which is their pop channel, but that is its hit. So you pretty much need to be either an established name or have a record that's already making quite a big impact to get on those channels. So for something that I like, a dance record, you can go very early, because I know Club MTV like to go early on dance records. And if you've got the right urban record as well, although that is one of the most oversubscribed channels. They have so many videos for contention. So it is, again, you have to pick your moment, and it's useful to have a little bit of radio support behind you, maybe some press, just something that gives you that edge against all the other videos that are out there when you're pitching for about 4 new slots. But yeah, you always serve it. You service on a Friday. They have their playlist meetings on a Monday. or Tuesday, and they playlist for playlists that kick in on the following week. So we sort of tend to work to a weekly schedule, and then update everybody and let everyone know what's going on with each record. Yeah, the music channels, I mean, there are less than there used to be, but that is the sort of start and the basis of what you can build on in terms of video exposure.
And then I guess after that, after you've done like the basic, which is just surfacing the music video and getting that placed on like MTV networks, etc., you would look to kind of do more profile building stuff with the artist.
Yeah, I mean, artists, obviously TV is such a visual, it's all about the visual. So it's a way of getting an artist's personality across, and performances are always the best way to sell a record. But they're equally the hardest things to get, and they're the most expensive things for TVs to put on, which is why they're fewer and far between. So I will do anything to get any relevant exposure, obviously not anything, but anything that's relevant and that will work for the artist. Whether that's a digital piece, because obviously there's a slight crossover between digital and between press and TV sometimes, especially when it's, say, for MTV and they're doing things for online and not on air. So I work on some of those whilst trying not to tread on toes. So we'll get interviews there where possible, getting things like behind the scenes from video shoots on air. Sometimes we can go and do little news pieces, because you've got to look for all different angles to get artists on telly. I know that we did some interesting things with the Men Are Trash record that was yours. We got them on London Tonight, and the ITV London News doing an interview, and we even had them on the Ramesh, Judge Ramesh thing, performing as a walk-on. It's harder now than it ever was, because there used to be a lot of opportunities at TV. So now you just have to investigate and, again, be creative.
Definitely. You know, I was going to say exactly the same thing that you said. Like, obviously, if I'm working with Helen on a project for Lethal Bizzle, we would have a much more wider variety of options that we would maybe look to do, and actually we might be turning down certain opportunities that we don't feel are quite right for us. But if we're working for like an upcoming artist, like the Men Are Trash project, you really have to be creative and think outside the box, because the artists on that, you know, they're completely new, they don't have any profile, but we managed to get them on the E4, like you said, that Judge Ramesh show, and London Tonight, which is like huge profile pieces for this campaign. So I love that, like being creative and thinking outside the box.
To be honest, I always find it, I've always enjoyed working with artists either at the beginning of their campaign, and then getting to that level, rather than working with artists who are literally at the top of their game, because then you're more often turning down opportunities, and literally you've got a top tier level to go for. Whereas sometimes it just feels a bit more exciting when you've got an artist who you know is completely worthy of these shows and will be brilliant, especially with Bizzle, because he's got such an incredible personality and always just shines, and people love him. So, but it's convincing the shows that wouldn't necessarily initially think of him for them. And that I always find a really exciting prospect. And then when you do secure those slots, it just feels great, and it works for everyone, because the label's happy, you're happy, the artist is happy, and the show's really happy as well, because they're pleased and they realise that it's something that they wouldn't necessarily have thought of.
I was going to say as well, I agree with you on that, Helen. I love working with artists at the beginning of their careers, sort of watching them build and develop, and it's really exciting as well to be part of that development with them as well, and working from the beginning upwards. So yeah, I really enjoy working with them right from the beginning. I think it's a lot more exciting, you can be more creative. You do get more people sort of turning you down because they don't know them, but yeah, you have to have different ideas and getting a foot in the door with them. So that's what I prefer as well, 100%.
I'd be the same. Yeah, I would be the same. You feel like you're part of part of it, like, and in such a big way. And if they become like a massive artist and you've been there from the start, you're part of that team. And, you know, everybody, you know, I work with Helen in some things, and, you know, it's all of us together. It's us doing press, TV and radio, and we all help each other in some way. That, you know, a record might do better on radio and that would help Helen, or, you know, it would be the same with press, you know. Yeah, no, I completely agree as well.
And that's what I would say as well, in terms of like, if you're an artist or if you're a manager looking to build your promo team, what I look for whenever I'm speaking to anybody is who's got the most passion behind the artist. Because, you know, sometimes, like Shireen's mentioned, you're going to be getting those no's and you're going to have to think outside the box. Like, you know, we're going to have to be creative with ideas and how we're pitching it. So it's really important to build a team who's the most passionate. So I would just literally go and speak to like various people as I was building a team for a particular artist, and just see who's got the most passion, who's bringing the most excitement and ideas to the table. So yeah, as Shireen mentioned, like obviously when you're dealing with press, you're going to have sometimes with long lead times when you're going to magazines, for example. Helen touched on, as well, on like having to pitch out to playlists, and playlists is obviously something relevant to radio. So Vicky, I just wanted to hand over to you now, and if you could take us through the process of like, would it be an artist generally approaching you, or a manager or a label? Like, how would you build like a single project around that for them?
It all really depends, because some artists might, you know, labels might just want to push for one single and they might not have signed the artist themselves. It may have just been that they've signed that single, or we'll come on projects where it's an artist proposition where we'll be there from the start. And, you know, the plan, all we really are doing is creating a plan to get to the point. You know, everyone at radio wants to be on like Radio 1 playlist. You know, they want Annie Mac to be playing them, but, you know, to get on a playlist, you know, it's not as easy as what people think, and most radio stations, be that national or community, will have their own playlists. So, you know, for us at radio, it's our plan to get them there. And how do we do that? You know, in some artists it is a long-term plan, and you have to kind of, each win is just incrementally just chipping away. A lot of people at radio a lot of the records we'll be working on, artists will start off in specialist worlds. So, you know, you wouldn't be getting loads of radio play. It'll be specific people, you know, your Annie Macs, your DJ targets, and, you know, you're just incrementally just getting all that support to build it towards playlist. But I think it really depends. If it's a dance record, you know, we'll be able, there's a lot of shows that can play that, you know, at Radio 1. So to be able to get to that next step, you want, you know, it'll get played in Annie Mac, it'll get played in Pete Tong, dance anthems. We need to then prove that that song is reacting and that the general public want to listen to it for a playlist. So, you know, a lot of things we'd be looking at. Shazam, we'd be looking at how many tags would it have got on from that play. Was there different spikes in like streaming or something like that? Basically, what we need to consistently do is prove ourselves and prove the artist and you know, the record, that people want to listen to it. And that's kind of how you get to playlist level. But I think in terms of artists and records, you tailor each you know, project or each campaign to that specific person. You know, like the girls were saying, if you've got like a big artist, you would be going into playlists straight off the bat because they've had previous support. Whereas if it's an up and coming artist, you know, you're starting from the start, you're taking them into community sessions, you know, you're getting as much promo, you're getting them as much kind of support as possible. So it really depends on what kind of artist it is and what campaign it is.
That's really interesting. And yeah, we are running out of time as well, and I do want to get to some questions. So I did want to go back to you, Vicky, and just ask, like, at what stage of like should an artist be approaching you? Do you like take artists on from like really early on in their careers, and like how do you go about finding artists that you're or people that you want to work with?
We work with kind of all variations, to be honest. You know, major labels, independents, and kind of people that have no team yet. And it's for us, it's about the music and the passion and the project. So it really depends. We'd kind of advise, we'd listen to the record and say, look, I think, you know, we should come on board maybe a little bit later down the line. If we kind of feel that the record really can get radio play really quickly, you know, then we'll go from the very start. But I think it's about just being honest. People trust your judgment, and that's kind of across the board. It's not just, you know, your clients, it's radio trust that you know, what records you're taking on and the relationships that you have. They trust that you've got the ears to do it. So we work with loads of artists who maybe haven't even got you know, a team yet, and it's just about us and looking at it from a radio side of things. You know, I wouldn't want to take anything on that I don't feel will be able to kind of you know, take to radio. As much as me maybe personally loving, you know, there's a lot of music that I listen to that from a radio perspective, you know, may be harder to kind of give a great campaign. It all really depends, and I think when it comes down to it with radio, it depends on the track. It depends kind of how that artist is built to that point.
Yeah, and that's really interesting that you said that, because I feel like it's a really important point to take from that artists, if you do want to like maybe take on a plugger and you send your music out to them, listen to their feedback, like listen to their advice, and don't necessarily take that as like a knockback or a rejection. Like there's so many times over the years that I might have sent a single project out to different radio pluggers, and it might not be quite right for them, or they might have conflicting projects, so they don't want to be taking artists that have a similar sound or in a similar genre, too many of them, into the playlist meetings. But like Becky mentioned, you're the one that's going in to speaking to all the heads of the radio stations, you're speaking to all these producers of the show, so you've got a really good ear and understanding of what it is that they're looking for. And like you said, you may love a project, or you may love an artist, but you might not feel that record is quite right for radio yet. So it's like a developing thing, and I would definitely say to all like budding artists or managers out there to definitely reach out to build that network, build that relationships with people, and don't get disheartened if you don't get an answer back or it's a no. That's like typical in the industry, and it's just about really building those relationships and finding the right team and the right people for yourself. Yeah, I wanted to hand over to Helen or Cherie. Did you want to add in on that point as well, in terms of like advice for artists and what stage they should come to you?
Yeah, I mean, I do get quite a lot of brand new artists and people who have made a video and then come to me and ask me to do a TV campaign. And as you said, I will give my advice and I will not take it on, the same as you, Vicky. If I don't think, even if I personally like it, I won't take it on unless I think I can actually do something with it. You know, there's nothing worse than trying to write a report on something and you have nothing to say week on week. You know, none of us, we all want to achieve with what we're working. So it is thinking about the whole campaign and talking to lots of people and strategizing your plan for everybody and everything. So even though any one of us might turn it down at a particular time, there will be a time to come on board. And I say, you know what, you need to go away and get some profile, you need to start building an online profile, you need to get some followers on socials and get some radio support, especially get some specialist radio support.
Going to say, I've advised for new artists for radio, put your stuff on BBC Introducing. It's, you know, the uploader, it's definitely helps. And again, sorry, but it helps, you know, with you as well, if it's had local support for TV as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard because it's chicken and egg, isn't it? And you have to start somewhere. But now the days of Channel U aren't there as well. There isn't necessarily that starting point at TV, I would say. So yeah, I mean, I will always give people advice, and if somebody thinks they've got an absolutely amazing video and a brilliant track, then I will certainly give feedback, and sometimes I've helped to create a team around it for people. You know, I've advised on radio pluggers who I think might work and press people. So so yeah, you know, pluggers can help out as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of the points there. I obviously just take on talent that I really do believe in. I believe in their music. I have worked with projects right from the beginning where they've had no press, no radio, no TV, anything before. But I think the main thing with me is as long as they put in sort of some hard work before they've released a few videos and they've got a core fan base, it doesn't have to be big, but they've put in work before, so I can see, you know, that they're really passionate about what they do, then I will take them on. And I believe in the music, but then I have to relay to them, look, you're starting from the beginning. We have to build it from the bottom upwards. You know, you're not going to be able to get certain things further down the line. Yeah, of course, but there has to be some stepping stones. And as long as they understand that as well, I think it's about being honest with your clients. And yeah, making sure they understand, you know, they're not going to get really high stuff straight away, and it's building with them as well.
It's just being patient, isn't it? Just be patient, yeah. And you will get there.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point as well, because I do feel like, you know, and you guys will have this experience of like, if you're working with independent artists or independent managers and, you know, they're funding these projects from their own pocket, they might have like really high expectations of what they want to get from this. And it's really important to like have these conversations to understand exactly what the process is and exactly what the targets are, but understand that, you know, they might as well go and pitch it, but the answer might be a no. But that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's also, you're getting your music heard by these like key experts in the industry, and the next time that you release a single, or the next time they might bump into you or see you online, or they might see you at a gig, or they might see you at a festival, and then that's how they're going to build that like relationship and knowledge about you as an artist, and then eventually they will come on and be like, yeah, we will support them. So it's important to listen to your promo team. And also, I think it's important, like, if, you know, you are starting out with really small budgets at the beginning, like not being afraid to like build those contacts yourself. I feel like, you know, a lot of artists might even come to me and say, oh, I want a manager right now. And it's like, you know, I think nowadays more so than ever, I think it's really important for artists to understand the business and understand like how it works, and build those relationships and those connections for yourself. Like, up until this point now, like even when we've got a record release, Bizzle will personally send a track out to DJs himself, even if we're going to have a radio plugger on board. But you know, Becky, I'm sure you'll know that helps. It helps because it's that personal relationship. So like keep those relationships, like as you build on those relationships, because that person that's starting out, like there's people now on BBC One Extra that I've known, like Reese, from when he was like interning and doing stuff at Represent Radio, and it's like I've grown and seen him grow with his career, and now, you know, I've got a really good relationship with him, or my artists do, because they've known him for years. Yeah, obviously we're running out of time, so I do want to go to some questions quickly. So the first question I've got is from Vanessa Sinclair, who says, how do you actually start to build the connections and contacts for you to do PR for the artist?
I mean, yeah, I just go out and network as much as possible. I think where I started as a music journalist, I was doing that anyway. So going up to artists, managers, but like just talking to them, you know, I like your music. With contacts, I built them up myself as well, ringing around different publications, tweeting them, just finding out any way possible. And we built up all of our contacts ourselves. When I was at 10 Letter, we didn't have Gorkana, which a lot of PR companies do. And that's basically a database that you pay for and log into. So yeah, we built up all of our contacts on our own. It's just putting in the hard work, and yeah, just getting yourself out there, really.
Jade Rumbelow says, as a DIY artist with very small funding, where do you think is best to spend the funds that you have? I mean, I would like to say a little bit on this before I hand over to one of the ladies, but if you're a self-releasing artist, or you're the manager of that artist, to really understand and focus on, where does your artist perform really well? Like, look at the stats, look at the figures. Like, do you feel like your artist is more of a radio artist and they're going to get a lot of love from radio? Then maybe that's where you should invest your money into. But I do think like it's important to start off building those relationships definitely by yourself. From Camilla, should independent artists send their music out to radio and TV pluggers just to introduce their music to them? So Becky, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, look, at Listen Up, we try to listen to everything that gets sent into us. Like we do, you know, it's important to us to listen to everything and try to get back with, you know, we do get quite a lot of music, but I think it really means a lot to get that feedback. So, you know, we know what it's like to be able to get the feedback through, and it's very, it helps. So, I mean, yeah, just go and research the different companies, and you'll see kind of on their websites kind of who they work for. Is it the same sort of sound as what you're doing? And just send it over. Like, we can always have a listen and just say maybe it's not right for now, but always keep in touch, and we're always open to just, you know, contacting us, and we'll always listen to your music. and give you feedback.
I've got a question for you all. It says from Vanessa again, do you all work with artists from various genres, or are you genre specific?
So I'm quite genre specific. I kind of only work in the urban world, so mainly UK rappers, grime artists, hip hop artists, and R&B as well. So I am very genre specific, but that's also because I'm passionate about that music, and I only work with music I'm really passionate about. I have worked with drum and bass artists because I love that music as well, but yeah, it's very urban, my field.
And another question was, one of my artists is in the process of planning for his next release and we're looking for PR pluggers. Is there a starting price for PR? I wanted to answer this, and then I don't know if any of you ladies wanted to jump in, but I would feel like there's no set price for a campaign. I feel like definitely independent companies are going to be more open to working with you a bit more on a flexible budget. And it's all dependent on what your project is, how much they think they can get for it, how passionate they are about your project, how much they believe in your project, maybe what stage that they're at in their company. Are they looking to kind of take on more acts in that like genre? So there's like so many different factors. So there's not really a set answer. I would say it's again just about building those relationships and speaking to various people. And then, yeah, I'll just take this last question. I'm sorry if we couldn't get to all of them, but I know we've run over and just don't want to keep the ladies. I know all of them are still working. What do you think are the key promotional values from artists in your roster that have created positive engagement with audiences?
I can say categorically, for me and for TV, it's personality.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Personality is like, I mean, I work with an artist called Doja Cat, who in the last kind of year, I mean, when we first started, it was kind of, she was getting kind of looks and more specialist sort of looks, but at the same time, like her numbers in terms of her videos and her creative and, you know, her presence online is just insane. It's just millions and millions of views, and I think she does it because she's just got that personality, and she just doesn't mind looking kind of stupid and doing things, and like that's what you like in terms of promo as well with TV and radio. If they're up for it, like they're really up for just having a laugh, and she actually like prefers the stuff that is weird and like maybe some people might not want to do, but she, you know, she did a thing on Capital Extra called Classical Kyle, and it's like basically this classical man who basically meets all these artists more urbanly, and then he talks about their music, and that's like one of her favorite pieces of promo because she just was, it was just out of the box. I suppose it's the same with the other girls. It's the same. It's just showing their personality, doing things, and if they're up for it, then it's just it really helps.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate all your time, and thanks to everybody that joined. If you were on the session, I do send out a replay of the full session so you can watch it back if you did join midway through. And yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you so much, ladies. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.